no matter how high of a space you move through this earth plane, I would be surprised if you're not at least a little bit affected by the power and the potency of what's happening. And so there's a lot of different ways to look at it, and I think it's also consider all ends of the spectrum and to understand like how people are reacting and how people are feeling about it. Whether people are like really in fear, people are really concerned, or people are saying, well, no big deal. There are actually people that are saying no big deal. And, I guess the truth can be understood depending on what level you choose to look at it. You can look at it, on the linear level. You can look at it more on the synthesized level, or you can kind of zoom out and take a look at it at the soul-based karmic level. And we probably will have information about that revealed to us either in these days or pretty soon. If we take a look at the situation, it's definitely something that's an energy, it's a frequency, and it's global. So right now we have this energy and frequency, and whether that's like being filtered by fear, being filtered by pragmatism, however it's being filtered, it's an energy and a vibration that's moving, and it moved very quickly, like just explosive. So we have to understand that that's the energy of it, that it's like fast moving. And if you were going by 5 elements, it would be kind of like a fire energy, plasmic. And so, one thing, if we could take a look at the possibility of global unification, global awakening. And so the front and the back, the front is, the fear. The fear for ourselves, maybe, the fear for our family, the worry for the people around us. But also the possibility is that it's like an entrainment. When is it that so many people on such a large scale have their focus on one point? And so that is something that we can possibly bring into the equation, is like the let's call it positive side of that. Everybody, whether they like it or not, is now focused on these frequencies and having to deal with their own reaction, whether it's their own body reaction, their immune reaction, their emotional reaction, intelligence reaction, their political reaction, which certainly is like a major wheel that's turning through the whole thing. And what we can input. I think it's also interesting to understand that what is like triggering something like this on the earth level is that the earth wants to maintain homeostasis and balance. And if that balance and homeostasis gets pushed too far in one direction, then the earth can vigorously respond to try to create harmony in that homeostasis. And so one of the things that creates a lot of imbalance, no news, I don't think, to anyone, is like human activity and how the human behavior is in dealing with the environment, how we prioritize the environment, and how we even prioritize how we treat other species, and how, of course, obviously, how we treat each other on a global scale. I think when you start to vibrate a certain frequency and start to have a certain level of awareness, it really is hard to understand sometimes. At a certain level, it's hard to understand. Another level, we can see it as almost a natural unfolding. But when you're in it, it also has like a different feeling. So we can hopefully try to have the sensation of both, because we're clearly, I think a lot of people are being held by the lower frequencies of the situation, and we can try to bring ourselves to the higher frequency and at least synthesize it for now. The other situation I think that it reveals is not only that the Earth's immunity has been weakened and largely through human activity, and it's also interesting that some of the things that are out of balance right now are so much part of like the problem, which is lack of oxygen and water, liquid. And that's like the condition and the symptom of the sickness. And that is really like an earth problem too, like too much water, not enough oxygen. So it's kind of replicating, on different levels. And this is like a microorganism type level that it is. But nonetheless, as we can see, something microscopic can have tremendous power to it. And I think that it's showing the weakness of the human immune system right now, which we weaken through diet, which we weaken through vaccine, which is a fear-based response. And I'm not saying not always necessary. There's a balance to that, and it can be paradoxical. But still, in the long run, it cripples, it disables our own immune system. Having a dietary input that causes us to need to have like tonsils removed. Tonsils is like one of the first layers and most important layers of adaptation to any kind of intrusion. And it's not like it pushes it out, it actually accepts it and then creates the harmonization for it. So, just the whole issue around diet, tonsils, symptomatic relief by removing tonsils. This is just an example of how far we've drifted into like a symptomatic and conditional response rather than a responsibly or responsible response, and one that takes a look at the cause and also positions ourselves in the position of causal rather than at the effect and victim. So I think it's really important in this time to input that to the grid so that this hopefully mass awakening that could be created through this entrainment from this global problem could awaken people. It has that potential as well. Let's try to align with that and see what we can accelerate on that level. This weakness of the human immune system, I think, is also revealed because these kind of sicknesses seem to be coming more often. They're like a cycle. And there's one, and then it's kind of like fades away and people just go back to what they were doing. They're not really changing. Just looking at it like, oh, that was an inconvenience, as instead of thinking, oh, that was like important information that tells me I need to shift my thoughts, my value system, and how I approach my relationship with humanity, with other species, and with the earth. But these so-called pandemics or partial pandemics, if you notice, they come cyclically, but the cycle is becoming logarithmically more fast and more impactful each time. We can use our energy as a kind of a regenerative energy and input that view, that possibility of awakening and transforming from what's going on.